This program was produced by and first broadcast on Radio Kidnappers, a volunteer-based community access station. For more information, go to www.radiokidnappers.org.nz. Thanks to New Zealand On Air for making this program available through funding the Access Internet Radio Project.
You're tuned to Radio Kidnappers, the voice of Hawke's Bay. This is the Acupuncture On Air program. As always, our pleasure to have in the hot seat Heiko from the Acupuncture Clinic in Hastings. How you going, Heiko?
I'm really good, Ken, and you?
Well, can't complain. All the better for seeing you on this beautiful day.
Yeah, so it's cooling down, getting ready for
old man winter.
For a New Zealand winter.
It's coming along. And mind you, you can't really complain when you compare it to, say, an English winter, can you?
Yeah, or in Chicago or somewhere.
Yeah, imagine that. Anyway, before we get on today's topic, which is Chinese herbs for waking in the night, just remind our listeners, we want to come and see you for some acupuncture, Chinese herbs, moxibustion. What's the thing you call cupping?
Yeah, cupping.
Yeah. Where are you?
And I'm in 206 Charles Street, Hastings. You can go to my website, acu123.co.nz.
Yeah, okay. Tell us all about Chinese herbs for waking in the night.
Yeah, well, I think first just need to reiterate, I have spoken about insomnia before.
Yes.
on the show, and I've said that there's basically sort of two types of insomnia. And one of them is you can't fall asleep, and the other one is that people can fall asleep and then they wake up and then can't fall back asleep. And some people do have both, but today's show I just want to focus more on those that are waking up in the middle of the night.
Okay, now, normally, like we say, you do a whole bunch of stuff. You do herbs, you do moxibustion, you do acupuncture. And I guess for sleeping, we're probably maybe going to focus on herbs. But herbs or acupuncture, which is better?
Well, it's hard to say sort of, which one is better. It's a really good question. And I tend to, the way I work in my practice, I tend to do both. I do acupuncture and herbs. And that's partly sort of market forces that people... they've come for acupuncture and then I educate them about Chinese herbs. But you would find particularly amongst the Asian community, they would maybe just go to a herbalist and get their medicine per se. But as I said, I do a mix, and it's very difficult to say which one is better. It's sort of is a Ford better, is a Holden better?
Ford is.
No. Holden person would never say that, right? And so then what we try to do is is to prescribe the herbs according to the patient's constitution, and often people might even ask, is there research? Has there been any research done on this? And unfortunately, on the negative side, there has been research done on, but the problem is it's very sort of standardised research, because in order to make it good for the statisticians and the scientists and the people compiling the data, they want to have everything the same. So it's like, well, we'll get 10 people and we'll give them these same 6 herbs, right? And then measure it, like, are you waking up at night for half an hour, for 15 minutes, for an hour? Are you sleeping better now 4 nights a week instead of 2 nights a week? And the problem is that that's not really how you practice within Chinese medicine, because every person is an individual, every person is different. You have older people, younger people, females, males, people with a history of liver disease, people with, so you have all these variables, that would go into account. There's 2 people there who both wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, but the herbs would be completely different.
Yeah.
And
it's unusual, isn't it?
Well, I mean, that's sort of the Chinese medicine, whereas the Western medical model is like, well, one drug fits all.
Yeah.
And so this is the hard difference to bring across to people.
Are we talking about people who regularly can't get to sleep, like every night type business, or would you be prescribing the same herb or acupuncture for the one-off? I mean, how would you couldn't treat acupuncture for one-offs, but if I had a history of every now and then not being able to sleep, I might come and see you and you might say, okay, well, take these herbs, and that night that you can't sleep, pop one of these.
Yeah, so again, that's not how it works.
No.
The Chinese herbs are not a drug/sedative.
Yeah.
They're not going to compete, with a heavy tranquilizer or diazepam or some other drug that they might give. And if people have a little bit of mild insomnia, then you probably wouldn't even worry about it. You say, oh yeah, every now and again it happens, you know. But it's for people that it's become a long-term problem, that it's affecting their daily life, that every night I'm going to go to sleep. Then I'm going to wake up at 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 12 o'clock. And one of the interesting things that we have with Chinese herbs is that it's to rectify the problem as opposed to treat the symptom.
Yes.
And often this is, it's a hard one to come across, because people think, well, they just ring me up and say, oh, look, I just want to get some herbs. I'll just come in and buy them. And I said, well, no, I actually need to see you and treat you and understand what's going on with you. And see, this is the difference. Whereas, in Western medicine, they'll just get one drug and then just keep getting a repeat prescription forever.
Why is there 20 or 30 different Chinese herbs for waking or trying to get to sleep, when there is, like you say, might be one drug that we take from a Western perspective? So why would there be 20 to 30 different ones? Again,
because, we have 20 to 30 different personality types, 20 to 30 different body types, and we have people who are complicated with 20 to 30 different other conditions.
So why doesn't Western medicine take that into account?
Well, I think in some regards they are slowly starting to do that, and that's where they think, well, they're measuring and trying to understand, like, the DNA of people. Say, oh, well, you've got a inherited weakness that you're going to get migraines, or you've got a deficient chromosome XY3 or something, and that's going to cause you to have bowel problems. And so then some scientists are now saying, we have to start to develop drugs to counteract that.
Yeah. Okay, so what if I come to you and I say, look, I'll go to bed at 11 and I'm waking up at 1. And you're going to say, well, there's this herb. And I say, yeah, but hang on a minute, I'm also waking up at 3 or 4. And then are you going to say, oh, okay, well then when you wake up at 4, you've got to take this herb?
Yeah, no, not like that. As a general rule, you'll find that people who wake up at night, they tend to wake up, and when it's chronic, to wake up around the same time.
Yeah.
And that's because there's different organs involved. So, for example, people who wake up around midnight, or sort of between 11 and 1 a.m. in the morning, we say that's a gallbladder problem.
Yeah.
People who wake up between 1 and 3, we say that's a liver problem. And then people who wake up sort of between 3 and 5, then it's another problem again. And so then we look at that person in combination with all the other signs and symptoms and idiosyncrasies, personality problems, different symptoms they might have with their digestion or their energy. That all comes in and it becomes a pattern. So there's more than, for example, with the liver, there's more than one type of liver pattern.
Yeah.
We can have a hot liver, we can have stuck liver energy. So, yeah, and all requiring different types of herbs, for the situation.
So if I come to see you and I'm, say, waking up at, let's say 1 o'clock in the morning, and you say, okay, well, that's a gallbladder problem, and then you're going to treat me with herbs for the gallbladder, does that mean I've got another underlying problem, or is that specifically the gallbladder?
It's usually, we say that it's a gallbladder pathology, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll have difficulty to digest fats or pain in the gallbladder, but it could be an indicator that you have a disposition for that.
Oh, right.
There's other symptoms too, for the example of gallbladder insomnia. These type of people usually wake with a little bit of a jolt or a little bit of a fright, and they sort of wake up.
I've had that,
and or they're the type of people that just wake up with the slightest sound, and then they'll say, oh, look, I'm sleeping, and a bomb could go off next door and my partner would just keep sleeping, but I hear a lid of a bin fall off and I wake up and I think it's a robber,
Yes.
and that's very much sort of a gallbladder type of a problem. And I think we've got a little bit of time. I'll just quickly mention about one of the liver type of insomnias, which is where you wake up sort of between 1 and 3 in the morning. And particularly if the liver blood is a little bit weak, then what we find is that these people wake up thinking about work, not necessarily worried about it, but thinking about all the things they got to do for work and how they strategize and how they plan and what needs to be done this week and next week. And this is very much also a liver problem, because we say the liver is responsible for planning and for making strategies. And so that if the liver's a bit weak or a bit vulnerable, then we say the liver time is between 1 and 3. So, instead of your liver sleeping and consolidating all your plans, it sort of wakes up and is restless. So, and then, we have different treatments and herbs and stuff to, so then people would say, so if I get my liver better, I can actually be a better planner and a better strategist. And yes, in theory, that's what we aim to do, to treat on a deeper emotional level.
I wonder then, so, and I'm just sort of presuming here, I go to a Western practitioner of medicine and I say, look, I'm having problems sleeping. Would they go into with the depth that you might have? So you're probably taking a more holistic approach to treatment, aren't you? So how long would I be visiting you to find out what was the cause of my sleeping problem? Or would I come and say, Heiko, I'm waking up every morning around about 2 o'clock and I need someone to help me get through the night? Would I be gone in 5 or 10 minutes, or would it be a longer session than that?
When the patients are coming for the consultation, I mean, probably, sometimes it's half an hour of questions, and sometimes it can be less. I have the odd one where it can be a lot longer. And then we've, there's lots of questions that we ask about the bowels, the urination, and the stomach, and if there's bloating, and if there's sinus, and there's a whole list of everything, that we ask for. And then once we've got what we call keynote symptoms that will confirm that it is, say, a gallbladder problem, and that includes like looking at the tongue, the facial colour, talking about their general mental, emotional status. Are they a strong, decisive person? Are they indecisive? Are they irritable, not irritable? Do they cry easily? All these things, mean something and have a significance to, to treating the person and getting the diagnosis down. And once the diagnosis is down, and sometimes the diagnosis may not be 100% clear on the first visit, because sometimes you have other problems overlapping, and then you've got to work out, well, what's the main one, and then that may resolve itself or become clearer over a few weeks or a month of treatment, and then we treat according to those signs and symptoms as well. And like, for example, people might say, look, I'm not actually sleeping much better, but I seem to have more energy in the day, or I don't feel actually indecisive or stressed like I used to. And so then we know that the body's starting to shift and to, become balanced, if you like. And then and with time, the sleeping will improve as well.
So when I come along and we agree that I need Chinese herbs, maybe in conjunction with acupuncture, are the Chinese herbs something that you give me in a pill form, or do I have to go home and make a cup of tea or a soup with them?
Yeah, there's two main ways. I mean, there's a few ways, actually. You can get herbal pills, but they tend to be quite standardised and limited. They're sort of a bit like a easy man's formula, people who don't, and also for practitioners who just want to, have a little bit of basic understanding, give a bit of supplementation. But as a general, you make up a formula, and that might have 10 to 15 different herbs in it. And there's two ways to do it. You can either just get what we call the raw, crude, dried herbs. You have, 6 grams of dried bark and 12 grams of dried root, and you got to take it home and boil it up and drink it. Quite time-consuming, and I just find Western people just not really compliant to do it. And as well, just people with busy lifestyles. And now, of course, we have like a more, say, modern scientific approach, which is a bit, we call it like freeze-dried granules. It's a bit like instant coffee, but it's instant Chinese herb. But quite involved in their extraction process, so the concentration is very high, and the standard of the herbs is of a high quality and have been screened for insecticides and all that sort of heavy metals and things like that. And that's what I'm actually using in the clinic, and I find I just get much better patient compliance, because they can just take this little jar with a spoon, have 2 flat spoons of the herb powder, add a cup of hot water, and then that's done.
Does it taste revolting?
It doesn't taste nice. I'll give them that. People will put up with it, but yeah, it's not the ideal tasting one.
Just a good point on that. I mean, if it does taste revolting, for instance, I would never take a Disprin in water because I find the taste to be revolting.
Yeah.
So I dissolve my Disprin in lemonade.
Right. Okay.
So if I was having one of your herbal remedies and it didn't taste very nice, if I put, say, honey with it, would that dilute the effect of what you're doing?
Yeah, we would suggest not to do that because then the honey itself, because of its sweet flavour, can slightly change the action. Because Chinese herbs, a large part of its sort of diagnostic and its therapeutic effect is based on the flavour. For example, is it bitter? Is it sour? Is it sweet? Is it pungent? Is it acrid? And this indicates that it's used for certain organs. Might be for the more focused towards the liver, or more focused towards the stomach, or more focused towards the heart. And you see, like, bitter herbs tend to be a little bit more for the heart, and sour herbs a bit more for the liver. So we don't want to negate that with some honey.
Okay, so what happens if I take the herbs and I think, oh my God, that's revolting, and then I immediately have a glass of lemonade? Is that a done thing or not?
It's a dumb thing, yes.
Yeah.
So, we would say, look, what you can do is maybe just have a, like maybe one date or something, just to get the taste out of your mouth. But if the taste is really in the mouth, so you just get it down and just rinse your mouth out with some water.
Yeah, of course.
And, as opposed to sort of having a champagne or a lemonade or something like that.
Okay, before we get to your song of the week, which I must say I've never heard of, just remind the listeners, want to come and see you, where is it? Where are you?
206 Charles Street, Hastings, and my colleague John Kennedy, he works down in Marston at 49 Church Street. And I would have thought you know this song. You must know the album.
I know the album, but and I might know the song when I hear it. But looking at it in black and white here, it's a B-side song. Tell us the name of the song.
It's from Bob Dylan from the Blood on the Tracks album, and the song is that if you see her, say hello.
Yes, and like I said, it was a B-song to a song called Tangled Up in Blue. You know that song?
That one, yeah.
And this song is about an anonymous lost love with whom the singer has had a falling out.
Right.
I wonder if it's got a happy ending. Here it is.
All right, we'll see you next week.
This program was produced by and first broadcast on Radio Kidnappers, a volunteer-based community access station. For more information, go to www.radiokidnappers.org.nz. Thanks to New Zealand On Air for making this program available through funding the Access Internet Radio Project.